Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Rachel. I'm from Thebehaviorcheckin, and I am a behavioral teacher in Florida. So in today's video, we're gonna sit down and do a Q&A. I've been getting a lot of questions on my channel, and it's kind of hard to answer everything in the comments. I've also been getting a lot of questions on Instagram, and it's kind of the same situation. So if you're from Instagram, great. If you haven't been to my Instagram, make sure you go check it out. I post a lot on there, so you get a lot more up-to-date content. So my first question is right out of the gate, a big one, and it is, what are your plans for next school year? So this was some big news. If you follow me on Instagram, you probably already know this, but if you're only following me here on YouTube, you probably don't know this. So I will not be in the classroom next year as a classroom teacher. I have taken a position where I will be working as a behavioral psych coach. So what that position basically entails is that I will be supporting teachers and students with student social emotional needs and behavioral needs. Like, the point is the teacher's got to teach, and yes, we sprinkle in social emotional curriculum and things with what we're doing, but the primary focus of the general classroom teacher is education. So as the psych coach, I would be supporting them and helping those students with their social emotional needs in the classroom, and that would be my primary focus. If I could talk, that'd be great. So that would be my primary focus. That means, like, if a student needs a break, they need to walk and talk with an adult, social emotional lessons, more targeted social emotional lessons for students. If they need to leave the classroom, if they're being disruptive and we need to go reset, that will be where I come into play. I will also be able to observe and support in the classroom. So if I see a teacher is struggling with a student, I can offer suggestions and supports on how to help those students. I will also be able to offer the teacher a break if they need a break too. And I had a psych coach this year, and I was so grateful for her, because sometimes in the classroom, the behaviors can get very overwhelming. I was in a self-contained unit, and everybody has a limit to their patience, and when you deal with the same types of behaviors day in and day out all day long, that can be really wearing on a person. So it's nice to have someone else who can come in for a little bit, let you step out and take a breather so that you can be your best self as a teacher. So that's essentially what I will be doing. It is not like a BCBA, although that is something I'm looking into in the future, because I'm not doing any kind of ABA. Just more social emotional, offering students breaks, kind of working through their big feelings in real time and showing them how to use those appropriate coping skills, being another adult who can help them use those coping skills. Because sometimes when it's one adult in a classroom full of kids, full of children, like, they need another adult to help those kids work through the big emotions. Because like I said, we're outnumbered as teachers in the classroom, and the more support we can get, the better the students are. So my next question is, how am I doing? All right. This year has been extremely hard for me as a teacher. I have been teaching 8 years, and this has been the hardest year in education for me. And I don't think that is unique to me. I think a lot of teachers have felt this way. I definitely knew this summer I didn't commit to anything for the summer because I knew I needed the break. I'm trying to reset. My big focus on my social media and my channel is going to be mental health for kids, and especially teachers right now. I'm kind of shifting gears a little bit because I'm realizing that we've put a big, heavy emphasis on student emotional health, as we should, but we need to have a movement on teacher social emotional health as well, because I experienced it firsthand. I experienced the burnout. That's why I didn't do a lot of YouTube videos this year, because on the weekends I was literally cocooning myself and trying to do everything I could to recharge for the next week because I was drained. This isn't the kids' fault, but I will definitely be honest, the children came with a lot more needs this year. And I think that was because the students that I had were younger, and they had only experienced this school year with COVID-19 parameters and pandemic stressors. And on top of it, I taught all through the pandemic other than when we were all out for the shutdown. So I did all last year with masks and seating restrictions and the whole shebang. So I was tired coming in. Then you throw in a move and resetting up everything in a house and selling your house and buying a new house in this market. And I started off the year not in the best place. So I'm really using the summer for healing and moving forward and working on my mental health so that hopefully I can be a better help to those students next year, because I will be in the right place that I need to be in. So the next question I had is, what is my favorite behavioral strategy? There's a lot of them, and I think that they're very unique to the individual student and what the position they are and what the situation, what the situation is that they're in. But I think the biggest thing is just listening. I think as an adult, the first thing we want to do is jump right in and fix the situation. And that is not always the best, because then the individual, the student, does not get heard. They're literally having someone in who's swooping in, acting like they know all the answers, and they don't. And that can leave the individual feeling very unheard and their emotions not being validated. So I would definitely say that listening is my number one go-to behavior strategy. So when I have an upset student or an upset adult, my first thing is, okay, what's up? What's bothering you? Then they'll usually give you some surface level answer. And then you kind of have to keep digging, and you can usually find the answers as to what is bothering them, kind of just doing some of those reflective listening strategies and saying, okay, and then just digging and asking them more. Okay, so tell me more about that. Okay, so what happened here? All right, how did that make you feel? And usually you can uncover that. And the fact of getting them to talk about it usually helps de-escalate them, because they're getting it out. And behaviors are really just big feelings that are trying to come out in a maladaptive way. So if we can teach kids and adults too, because we all struggle with this, how to get our feelings out in an appropriate way, it helps substantially. So this is an interesting question that came to me, and it was about one of my worst students. I'm not going to answer that question. I think that goes without saying. I don't like to sit there and say that someone was a best student or a worst student. I think every person has their own learning journey, and I definitely had some situations that are more challenging than others, but I try to approach each student as a person who's just going through it, and they need empathy, and they don't need me to be someone who's judgmental or anything like that. And I've seen a lot of progress. I'll be honest, some of the students that have challenged me the most in the beginning, the ones that really made me want to pull my hair out, made me want to throw my hands up in the air and say, okay, I can't do this anymore. Someone else has got to take this kid. Normally when I get to that point, I step back and I reflect and I do a lot of work. All right, why is this kid getting to me? Why is this child upsetting me in a place where I feel like I can't help them? And then I go from there. And then I make a decision on what I need to do. And what's amazing is time after time after time that this has happened, I have usually had my mind open to helping this child, and the kid that was my most challenging, that got on my nerves the most, suddenly ends up becoming, lack of a better word, my favorite, my biggest success. And I think a lot of that is when I finally stop letting go of how it's bothering me and the me in the situation and start realizing, okay, this is just a kid who's struggling. How can I help this kid who's struggling? That's when I start really seeing the growth in the kid, because I can let go of that anger. And you can't really help people when you're in a state of anger or revenge. You have to be in a state of love, and that's hard. that is a really hard place to get to, and it's not something that I get to quickly. I'm very stubborn sometimes, and I have to really work on it. I do a lot of this through journaling, reflecting, meditation, prayer. Those are things that I would recommend if you're feeling that way with a particular individual. Ask whatever faith you believe in to help you learn to love that person. And when you come from a place from love, that's when you see the biggest change. The next question I have comes from a viewer who has a student who has an IEP and is struggling to pass their teaching exams and is getting a lot of pressure and a lot of not support for that in the college level. Okay, so I can totally relate to this. The one nice thing with the new job I have is I'm not required to take the 9,000 tests that Florida wants me to take. My licensures that came from the other state, I'm totally aligned with what I need to do. I am extremely grateful for that because I have struggled to I've struggled to pass a lot of these tests. They are so hard. And I know why we need licensure tests. We need to prove that we're competent going into the classroom. I get that. But I have some opinions on it that probably aren't the best opinions for the testing industry. I feel like they are very ableist tests. They do very much prey on what you can remember as information. And to be honest, what makes a good teacher is someone who is willing to learn and grow and find out things and research. And they don't always cover basic knowledge of things you're going to teach. I know I'm going off a tangent. I'm going to get back to the question in a minute. But for instance, I'm teaching elementary school kids. I teach primarily K through 2. I have no desire to teach upper level math. In fact, every upper level math, elementary math I've seen is compartmentalized. Departmentalized. Every upper level math in elementary school is departmentalized. So that basically means there's one teacher who really only teaches math, or maybe they teach science, but it's not like you're forced into doing it. And some of that stuff that you learn in 5th and 6th grade math is not stuff that you use on a daily basis. I like to say that 4th grade math is everyday math. That's pretty much where you end up. That's the balance your checkbook math. That's the math you need in life, the basic fractions, all of that stuff. When you start getting into 5th grade math, and especially upper level math into junior high and high school, you start using math that's very specific. And I think that because you don't use it on a daily basis, it's really hard to remember. At least for me, that's the problem, and that's my struggle with it. I have a learning disability in math, and so really the only way I remember things is if I apply it every single day. If I've taught it in the classroom as a co-teacher, then I usually do really well because not only have I learned it, I've seen it taught, I've had to teach it, I've had to help kids who are struggling through it. I've gotten a lot of practice because you do it every single year. And guess what? I know it. But there's a lot of stuff that I don't know. And I see a lot of these teachers struggle with that because we're human and we have strengths and weaknesses. And I will tell you, most teachers don't end up teaching to their weakness. They tend to go where they're strong. I mean, that's what we all do. I think of it as a doctor. You're not going to go into a part of the medical field that you didn't do really well in. That's just not what you want to do. So I don't know. I feel like they're a money-making racket. I think that they're a way to prevent a lot of people from getting into education. And that's a whole new situation. But essentially, long story short, to support what you were saying about your student, I would definitely, if the student has an IEP, make sure that they're getting their accommodations met on these tests. I didn't use my accommodations. I probably should have, but I have been taking tests and I've seen people using their accommodations during those tests that they take. So there is a place on the website where you can list in that you have an IEP and you have accommodations, and I know you can go in and submit your IEP. I know in college you can also keep that on record as well. I did that when I was in college so that I had to have my testing accommodations available to me during my college classes. But like I said, I know you can do that for a licensure test if you need extended time. And I think that extended time is probably the best one for a lot of the teachers, just because, for instance, speaking once again to the math portion, because that's the one that I struggle to pass, The extended time is very helpful because it allows for you to like recall things that have long since gone into your recesses of your mind, to double check your work, kind of get over the anxiety, a lot of it with math. For me, I have a lot of anxiety when it comes to math, so I need that time to go back and double check the things that I marked that maybe I was confused about. To be honest, I had a really embarrassing moment, but I went into a straight panic attack during my last math one I had to take, and literally forgot my 8's multiplication tables. Yeah, like they flew right out of my brain because of anxiety, and extra time allows for me to sit there and list everything out because that helps and recall what I need to do, because sometimes that's what we need to do when we struggle with recalling things or anxiety. So I would encourage your friend not to give up. I know it's frustrating and I know it costs a lot of money, but not to let your friend be discouraged by this, because to be honest, being a teacher is extremely hard, and there are a lot of roadblocks set up above you to prevent you from going into education. And I think the very first hurdle is passing these stupid tests. And that you need, if you really want to be a teacher, keep trying. But if it's causing you major distress on your mental health, I would understand if you wanted to step away from it. But there's really, unfortunately, at this point, no out. I've looked. There's no out. So if you want to be a teacher, I would just make sure that you use your IEP accommodations, and that you take your time, and that you use a good study program, and you breathe and you relax and you don't take it too seriously, because sometimes when we do that, it makes it worse. And I know that's really hard to say because it's your whole job, but do something before that's very relaxing and get your head in the right space. Make sure you're taking care of yourself. And when you study, make sure that you're taking your time when you're studying, that you're not cramming, and that you're only doing it in small chunks so that you're not getting overwhelmed, and that you're reviewing things every single day. And that is my best advice for passing the test. I know that was kind of a really long answer, but that's pretty much there. All right, so that's all the time we have for today's questions. I got some more, but I wanted to go ahead and address those first on. I don't want this video to go on and on and on, because I think that sometimes gets a little boring, especially some of these sit-down videos. But if you made it this far, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And I would love that if you had any more questions, like, you leave them down below in the bottom. I really do want to answer them. If you like Q&A videos, I can do some more Q&A videos. I really plan to be more on top of it this summer with posting content regularly and getting it out to you. That is something that I really want to make sure that I get a good habit of, trying to adjust my habits this summer. Yeah, if you have any video ideas of things that you would like to see, or any questions that you have, leave them below in the comments. You can also find me over on Instagram and ask me questions over there as well. I'm under the same name. And once again, thank you so much for coming here. I really enjoy sitting down and talking to you. And I have some other great videos in the works, so I know you don't want to miss them. I have some other big announcements that I haven't made yet that I really want to share with you all. So if you haven't subscribed yet, please join. I really want this to be a community of teachers and parents and aspiring teachers where we can all learn and grow together. So please subscribe and join. And thank you so much, and I will catch you in the next video.